Hello everyone. In this video, I will be showing you how and where to get a Gigantoraptor, as well as showing off all of the features that I have learned about this dino so far. Let's get started. In order for you to even get the Gigantoraptor, as of right now, with the current state of the game, you will actually have to download this mod, the Gigantoraptor mod, and put this onto your single player or onto your server. This is something that the community manager said had put out, but basically, they can't put this into the base game yet. They might put it into the core base game at a later time. We'll see. But for right now, just remember that you do need to download this mod. And once it is downloaded, make sure that you do install it onto your single player or onto your server list. Make sure it is activated. And once it is activated, you can then go into the game and you can look for it. And you know that you have it activated if you go into your engrams, and if you look at level 69, you will notice that you have the saddle engram there, and you may as well go ahead and learn it, and it is crafted inside of the smithy. You can find this dino on the northwest part of the map in the red obelisk vicinity, at least where I have seen it. And if you are on single player, make sure that after installing this particular mod that you do a dino wipe immediately loading in. They have set spawn locations, and I have not seen all of them myself, but rather I am just showing you all of the ones that I have seen so far. And for those of you that find a location that I do not show in this video, make sure that you put your coordinates below to help out others. I would greatly appreciate it. Now, I have also heard that these like to spawn alongside the rivers, and while I was finding most of mine near Red Obelisk, they can spawn in other locations on the map. This one happens to be in the southeast corner, more towards near Green Obelisk. Before you go out and tame your Gigantoraptor, there's a couple of things that you will need in order for you to get one. First things first, you will 100% need a full set of ghillie, and I highly recommend to get yourself some sleeping bags with a storage box nearby, because in case if you do die, it's a good idea to have a backup set of ghillie inside of there, which is why I have an extra 2 pairs there. I also have an extra shotgun with some shotgun shells, and again, that's because if I need to take out any unnecessary ads, then I need to be able to do so. So I'm going to have an extra shotgun in a box nearby, just in case if I do die. The last and most important final thing that you do need is fertilized eggs. Now for this, I will use either Argentavis or Rex eggs, and this is a personal thing, and it all comes down to the whole fact that depending on what area you are on the island, because of the temperature, this area that I'm at right now is at 15 degrees Celsius, I would probably use a specific type of egg, just so that it doesn't accidentally hatch as I throw it out. And the reason why you need fertilized eggs is to distract the parent Gigantoraptor away from the nest, so that you can tame the baby. So I've located one nest in particular that happens to be sort of near Green Ob, and this particular one happens to be level 20, and there's the baby right there, which is actually a different color than the parent, but that doesn't really matter. What we now need to do is set up a storage box, a couple sleeping bags, and take out any of the aggressive dinos nearby. Once you have cleared all the dangerous stuff in the area, it's time to go into your inventory and start owing out some of the fertilized eggs to distract the parent. And we want to lead it away from the nest. I like to drop a couple of eggs, but really you only need to drop one. I just like to drop multiple. And give it a wide berth, and then you need to run immediately towards the nest. Make sure your ghillie is on, and you'll get a prompt to hide inside the nest. Then the baby's going to come up, flap its wings, and then it's going to do one of these 3 different options. I'm going to quickly just pause here and show you that it wants either a bow, or it wants to spin, or it wants to flap its wings, and it depends on what it is that that baby is doing, because you need to actually mimic what that baby is doing. So I'm paused here just to show you the 3 prompts, because this happens very quickly, and I will rewind it again so that you guys can see what happens on my screen, but you're just mimicking the baby by clicking the corresponding button of what the baby does. As soon as you're done, you need to get the heck out of that nest. So press E again, get out of the nest, and run away. Because the parent will always go back to double check the nest to make sure that its baby is okay. And it will actually spot you even if you are wearing ghillie. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward this footage a little bit because it is very much rinse and repeat. So every single time that you get out of the nest, you need to go away from it. Go ahead and drop a fertilized egg because you're trying to pull the attention of the parent away from its nest. And once you have dropped the egg, go back to the nest and wait inside of it for the baby to appear. And while the baby is coming to you, the parent should be eating the fertilized egg. And this is actually what it looks like when the baby requires a spin from you. And just remember, get out of the nest. Every single time that you do a successful dance or a move with the baby, get out of the nest and wait for the parent to go check it, drop the eggs, and then rinse and repeat. And there you go. You've tamed yourself a baby Gigantoraptor. Because it's a baby dino, it will have to mature. And just so that you guys are aware, you can imprint this as it's raising as well. So this female will raise up and then we can test it out. But in the meantime, it's probably a worthy shout to go out and get yourself the opposite sex raptor, because when it does raise up, you can actually breed these creatures. And trust me when I say this, this creature needs to be the highest level tame that you have at your base. Once your creature has fully matured, you can now take it out and work with it. But I want to point out that I did 100% imprint this creature, and if I go to show buffs, you can see that because I have imprinted this, to me, it does have the damage and the resistance there, which is like normal with any other creature. I want to point this out that this Gigantoraptor does turn on a dime. It's really nice. And when you do equip the saddle and you ride it around, you will notice that it has the Maywing pouches on either side of it. It has two of them. And it can run. It's a very quick runner. Like I said, it turns on a dime and it can jump. But one of the coolest things about this is that it acts like a terror bird, and if you hold space as you're in the air, it will flap its wings and it will glide across. It's kind of derpy at first, but it grows on you. The other thing though with it too is that it has a click for attacking, and that doesn't seem to do anything at all when you go up to just regular things that are naturally spawning, but if you right click, you can harvest berries, and it is a thatch gatherer. The right click obviously does more damage and the left click does less damage. And the last feature about this creature is if you click C. So if you click C up at the top, it says wild babies tracked and no tamed baby imprint request to refresh. I will explain what that meant in just a moment, but now if you look across your screen, you will notice pacifiers that are pulsing, and that is highlighting where some of the baby dinos are. So you can actually locate where the baby dinos are by using the Gigantoraptor. It's a nice feature, and it will come into handy later. Now onto the next feature, which is basically, it does what the cryopod used to do, which is re-rolling imprints. Ever since they took away that ability to cryo baby dinos in ASA, that became kind of annoying, but they made it so that this creature could do that for you. You see, this baby dino will want an imprint in a few minutes, and if we let that timer go down, you can see that this one wants to walk and the one next to it wants a cuddle. So if we hop onto the Gigantoraptor and click C, it will do a cry and the red pacifiers will turn to yellow, and it will tell you that the imprint has been re-rolled. So hop off, and sure enough, it looks like that as we walk up, the walk became a cuddle, and the cuddle became a walk. It will randomly re-roll whatever it originally asked for, just like how the cryopods used to work. Now onto pulling feathers. If you access the radial wheel of your Gigantoraptor, you will notice that it has an icon of a feather and it will ask you to pluck it. Go ahead and do that, and then when you do, look in the inventory and you will notice that you have a feather. I will explain this very carefully. This feather came from this level 90 Gigantoraptor that I tamed out in the wild to level 134. That was its added bonus. This will be important later, and I will explain. But if we read the description carefully, you will notice that it says that I have a 58.22 chance of inheriting the higher health stat from the parent. And this might sound really awesome at first, but wait, let me explain. So you can only pluck a feather off of your tamed Gigantoraptor every 24 hours in real time in game. And every time that you do pluck a feather, you will notice that sometimes that you get different stats. Like this one here is health, but I might get one in oxygen, or I might get one in weight, I might get one in melee damage. Who knows? It's random every single time. But the 58.22, how does that number come about? Well, from what we have tested and noticed is that the higher the level of your Gigantoraptor means that the higher the percentage of that feather that you get from it. So, for example, this one here will give me one that's at 66%, and this higher level one here next to it, this level 525, will give me an even higher percentage. Now, this can seem incredibly unrealistic with the level of this Gigantoraptor, especially for people who play on official. This is impossible to do. But I will say this, we did find out that the percentage does have a cap on it, and it's at 75%. For the rest of my testing, I'm going to be using these level 127 base Rexes here, and you will notice that they have 39 points in health, 41 in stamina, 0 in food, 0 in weight, 0 points in oxygen, and 45 points in melee damage. So I purposefully lowered the level of this creature, and I will explain why, but I will be using this Rex to test for the Gigantoraptor for later. So let me explain how the feathers work. Since both of these are the exact same level, they have the exact same stats. There is nothing different compared to these two Rexes here. So because my base female and my base male are the exact same levels, they have the same stats, it doesn't make sense to test the feathers on them. So what I will do is I'm going to take this base female that has points in health, stamina, and melee, and I'm going to purposefully show you how the feather works by breeding her with a level 1 Rex. He has no stat points in any one of the 6 stat categories, so this will be an easy test. So what I'll do is, because she has the higher health, stamina, and melee, I will have to use a feather from one of those categories to show this off. So what I'll do is I will use the 70% melee feather that I got from a completely different Gigantoraptor. I will put that in her inventory. Now when you right click on it, you cannot consume it, but what I will do is go up to her and do behavior and enable mating, which she is on. I'll go up to this male and I'll do behavior enable mating. And there's an egg right there, so we'll go ahead and collect it. Look in the inventory of the female and you will notice that that feather is now gone. And with a 70% chance from what that feather said of pulling the melee damage, it did actually pull the melee damage. So that's actually really good there. I also want to point out that while this does seem like an incredibly useful feature for this particular creature, it really only has a use at a certain point in your playthrough, and then it becomes really redundant. Like, this is only used realistically in my way of thinking for breeding and getting your bases, and then once you do, it seems like a redundant feature after that point. My last thought was, could a Rex consume more than one feather? And this was something that we really wanted to test. So I'll be using that level 1 male here that has 0 stat points in all categories with my level 245 base, the one that I actually showed in my breeding video. I'm going to give her 3 feathers. I'm going to give her 1 in stamina, and I'll put them in order like this: stamina, oxygen, and food. So let's see if she consumes all 3 feathers, and this would then test the theory of whether or not that you can give multiple feathers to a creature to have a greater chance of pulling more stats. So by stockpiling feathers, can you create like a base faster? Alright, so she laid an egg. And no, she can only consume 1 feather at a time. So putting multiple feathers inside of a female's inventory won't pull all of those stats. And yeah, she did actually pull the stamina feather, which was the first one that I put inside of this inventory. So that's interesting. You can only do 1 at a time. So now on to bonding and what it can do. So on the left, I have a level 90 that tamed out to 134, and I have a level 10 that tamed out to 14. The level of this creature will matter significantly depending on what you're trying to bond it to. Let me explain by showing you some Rexes. So I've gone ahead and I pulled out the level 245 Rex, and I'm going to go ahead and get on my level 10 Gigantoraptor here. If I go up to it and access the radio wheel, you can see I have an option right here where I can add the baby to the left saddle or to the right saddle. Doesn't matter, but I can add it to the saddle. But if I go to click on this option here, at the top you'll say, my level 14 can only carry baby creatures less than or equal to its current level, meaning that this is why the Gigantoraptor that you tame needs to be the highest level tame in your base, because if you want to bond it to the creatures that you're breeding, it always needs to be a higher level or at least equal to what it is that you're trying to bond with it. So because this is level 245, I cannot carry it. And this level 90 Gigantoraptor that I tamed to level 134, well, this thing can't carry it either. So I actually need to either go out and tame more of these, or what you would ideally want to do is tame a few of them, breed them together to get the highest stats possible to increase the level of this creature. But I do actually have this one at 134, and because I did create this Rex here, this one has the points in health, stamina, 0 in oxygen, 0 in food, 0 in weight, and it has points in melee. Because this is a 127, I could technically take this 134 and I could actually add it to this right here. But what I will do is I'm going to use my test raptor over here. I've gone ahead and I've created a couple of scenarios to test out with you, but first I'm just going to show you how the bonding works. So if I go up to this one and if I click add baby to the left saddle, right there's my level 127. So I'm going to click him. And you can now see that he is a passenger on the left-hand side. So now what you want to do is head out with him. And you'll notice in the bottom left-hand corner, it has resting 0 out of 6, plus 67 levels as well. So you need to go out and you're going to have to hunt. This baby Rex wants you to hunt on the back of this Gigantoraptor, and depending on where you are, it's just roughly in the vicinity of where you're at. It's going to ask you to hunt creatures, and it will ask you to hunt basically every creature that is in the area. And yes, that includes alphas, according to the wiki. And in addition to that, there's only 2 creatures that it won't target, which are drones. So what you need to do now is you need to run around on your Gigantoraptor. And here's the thing, you cannot stay in the same area, you will have to travel a little bit. You'll notice that it's in a resting mode, and then in the bottom left, when it has a target, it will highlight as red. And if you look around, you can see that there is a creature that it is targeting for you to take out. So go ahead and eliminate that particular creature. And it should say 1 out of 6 as soon as you're done. Then you'll notice that the icon has then turned blue and it says resting. So you need to walk around, allow it to rest, and then as you keep walking, you'll find a new target and you rinse and repeat. I should say this now that every creature that you are bonding is different. So a Rex will require 6, but a dodo, for example, might require 1 target. It's just different depending on what creature you're trying to bond to your Gigantoraptor. I'm also going to go ahead and address this right now. In the bottom left-hand corner, where it does have your creatures and how many you need to eliminate, you'll see the plus 67 levels, or plus whatever level that it says for yours to have. What does that mean though? Because for a while I was thinking that it had something to do with the fact that maybe your creature was getting some sort of an added level bonus, but that's actually not the case. What's happening here is the actual targets. That's what it's referring to. So because I am doing this particular level Rex, it is asking me to go out and find dinos that are above level 67. So every single target that you will notice that I take out and eliminate with my Gigantoraptor, it is always above level 67. So that's what that number refers to. And now that I have bonded a creature to this particular raptor, you will notice two things. So in your inventory and your buffs, you'll notice something different, but more specifically, you'll notice the yellow glow around it, which indicates that something has bonded to this creature. Keep in mind that this is at 0% imprint. I will still imprint this Rex in addition, but if I go to show buffs and if I look at it, you will now notice that it has something extra. Because it is bonded to my Gigantoraptor there, it automatically will have a 10% damage resistance, and that is for the life of this creature. And for the life of, well, when this thing stays alive. So what you could do is you can still imprint this, like here. And once I get it up there, it will also have the imprint buff. But if I go up to my Raptor here, look at the inventory, and if I go to show buffs, again, this one is at 0% imprint, you will notice that I have 6% damage increase, 3% experience increase. Now we can change this number and I will show you how. But first things first, when I hop on top of this, you will notice that there is an icon in the bottom middle that says 3 out of 25. You can get a full stack all the way up until 25, and that will impact the quality of this buff inside here. So I actually did get 5 levels onto this Gigantoraptor, and that was because I had finished bonding with this particular Rex here. You see, displayed up on the screen now is a list of all of the ways that you can boost the stacks to get to 25. So you get 5 stacks when a bonded creature matures. So for example, when this Rex fully raises up, I will get 5 onto my test here. And then I will get 5 stacks for when I bond a creature to this. But again, you'll notice by looking at that little icon in the bottom middle that it will slowly deplete over time, so you will have to maintain this. You also get 5 stacks for when a bonded creature hatches, and then you get 1 level up. So if I were to level up a creature then that is bonded with me, then I can also increase my stack at the bottom. You will also notice that because my stack is at 16, which by the way, level 15 stacks and higher, you will then go into your buffs and you'll notice that it says Alloparental Fury. And Fury is the highest tier that you can get. It goes from Pride or Love, and then it goes Fury. So right here at 16 stacks, 32% damage increase, 16% experience increase, and then 10% movement. The movement comes from when your stack is 15 or higher. And when your stack reaches a full 25%, you will max out at 50% damage. You see, every single stack does damage by 2% and experience by 1. So by getting your Gigantoraptor up to 25 stacks, 25 times 2 would be 50% damage increase. And that's just for this creature that we're riding. And I'm just going to say this right now, even though you have 2 pouches where you can hold 2 creatures, if you go out with both of them at the same time, even though they do want the exact same target above 67 levels, if you do highlight a single target, it will only count for 1 of the babies. But it's still a good idea to make sure that if you are doing this method by bonding a creature to the Gigantoraptor, that you go out initially with 2 anyway. It'll just make it a little bit easier in the long run. My 3 Rexes here have fully matured, and I want to point out that my Raptor over here has this reddish-orange glow, because if I go and ride it right now, you'll notice that I have 17 stacks, which is going down to 16 here. And if I go and access the inventory, and I go to show buffs, 16 times 2 is 32%. That's why I have 32% extra damage. Now, if my stack was up to 25, I would have 50% damage increase to this particular Gigantoraptor as I ride it. But because it has the Fury, you'll notice that it has the 10% movement increase. Now, if I hop off of this, and if I go and look at these Rexes here, you'll notice that these two particular ones that are bonded, if I go to show buffs, they have the 10% damage resistance. They will always have this because they're bonded, but the 5% damage increase, that's because this thing has the Fury over here. It's what makes this particular creature so useful in boss fights because basically it's a support dino. Very similarly how a Utyrannus is a support dino in a boss fight. But if I go over here to this test bond number 1, I did fully imprint this. Now I'm going to go ahead and ride it, and I'm going to show you exactly what I'm looking at here. So if I ride it, I have the imprinting affinity. This is always as I ride this creature. When I ride it, I will have this bonus, which is really nice. And then on top of that, I have the adopted rage. So that is why you would want to bond creatures, because you can deal so much more damage and plus have more resistance. And just to show you, as I'm on top of this, I'm at the 15 out of 25 stacks. Because this Rex over here has levels, let's say if I want to go ahead and pump 3 levels into melee damage here. So 1, 2, 3. Now if I go over here to my Raptor, it should say 21 out of 25. I got plus 6 there. It's 2 per level. Every time that you level up, it goes up by 2 stacks. In theory, you could bond disposable dinos specifically so that you could add stacks to your Gigantoraptor going into boss fights. Take, for example, here, this baby dodo that I've bonded to my raptor. I could get the full stacks on this, and then when I go into a boss fight, I could make sure that it has levels to pump into it, chuck it out, and then dispose of it, getting the additional 15 levels when a creature does perish, and this will get me into my rage mode, giving me the extra damage on all of my creatures going into a boss fight. The last thing with this creature that I'm going to address is talking about the sea cry and locating the baby dinos that you'll notice with the pacifier icon across the map. So for this purpose, I'm going to be using this raptor here. If I hop off and look at it with the tech binoculars, you can see all of the stat points. 39 in health, 33 stamina, weight, food, oxygen, and melee damage respectively. So one thing that this will do is, like I said, it locates the babies. Now, my creature here has 88 levels to put into it, but I have not put any of the levels in there. This thing's not imprinted either. We were testing this out for a very long time and didn't really notice too much of a difference with the whole imprinting on your creature. But let's take, for example, a random baby dino. I'm using the dodo because there's a level 20 here and there's a level 20 there. They're the exact same level, so this will be a very easy test to do. So now that the parent dodo is taken out and eliminated, what you want to do is make sure you do click C. You have to make sure that they do have the pacifier icon above them, and it can get really finicky depending on like what dino you're trying to claim. So I have to go into first person mode, and you do need to stay on the back of your creature for this. So I'm going to press E to imprint this juvenile level 20, and it should be level 20. It did not get any added levels, anything bonus to it. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to pump all of my levels into any stat. I'll do melee damage here. So now with all of my points in melee damage, if I go up now and I claim this one, you will see that it is level 30. It got maximum amount of levels based off of the fact that I put all of my points into my creature. And we did think about the level of the Gigantoraptor itself, but again, we've realized through our testing that it's not about the level of the creature, it's about the points available that you put into your own. Something else to point out though too is that this juvenile dodo, because it tamed out at level 20, it inherited all of the parent stats. So if you notice, two it has 2 points that were in melee damage, but if I compare that over here to this particular dodo that got the 10 extra levels, this is now at 5 points. So because this got 10 extra levels, 3 of those points went into melee damage. And I'll explain this, but basically 30% of the levels all went in there. Now you might be like, well, why did 30% of the levels go into there? And it actually relates to your Gigantoraptor. If you look, the highest stat that I have on this creature is my melee damage. And it's supposed to correspond with the imprints that you do and the bonus levels that you get from the baby. It's supposed to directly link. So because my Gigantoraptor has most of its points in melee, that means that when I imprinted it, that it got the extra points in melee as well. Also, something else to point out though too is that if you are in a tribe with multiple different people, it is a shout to say this now, is that every person that has their own Gigantoraptor will have their own set of creatures that are bonded to their Gigantoraptor. So, for example, if I had Tyrant, Twisted, and Sam all here right now with me, they could not use my Gigantoraptor with the bonded creatures that are to it because it is specific to the person who not only imprints that Gigantoraptor, who claims it, who has tamed it, but also to the creatures that were bonded because they should be bonded through that to you, if that makes sense. So it is specifically to each person. That's everything that I know about the Gigantoraptor. I really do hope this video was helpful for you. If it was, please consider liking and subscribing. And if you know something about this creature that I didn't cover in this video, please put it in the comments below and I will gladly read it. Until then, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.